Hi folks, and welcome to my board games that are outside my top 100. So, we're going to go through 115 to 101. What games just missed out on being on my list? Well, the first one at number 115 is Biblios. Biblios is a card drafting game where you're basically deciding one at a time whether you're going to keep that card, give it to another player, or put it in the stack for phase 2. Now, once everyone's done that and gone through the stack, then you're going to be bidding on that second stack that everyone made. And the whole time you're trying to collect different icons. You're switching these dice. There are these 4 big die that you do not roll. They're just there to count the number of victory points you can have if you have the most of each color. And then at the end, whoever has the most points wins. This is a very fun game. I see a lot of people talk really good about this game. It was number 69 on my list last year. It fell 46 spots on my list, and the only reason being is because Biblios dice is a far superior game. Just like I said in my top 100, I love Biblios dice. Biblios, great game on its own. If I didn't have Biblios dice, I would probably play Biblios more if I could, but unfortunately I have Biblios dice, which is a much better game. Still, Biblios, fun game, but that's why it's not my top 100. The next 5 games on my list are brand new games I brought into my collection last year, but didn't get on the list. It hurts my heart. At number 114 is Surf's Up. Surf's Up, you are riding these waves, which are tiles that move down the board, and you have these like surfer meeples that are specially designed for it, and you're trying to get on the big waves, little waves, medium waves, whatever wave you can get, but you want that prime position because it can give you extra points in the game. And of course, you're trying to collect these little wooden trophies that are gold, silver, and bronze. I love the uniqueness of this game. There is no other theme that I have seen that's like this. And it looks great too, those tiles coming down the board. The game plays pretty quick. There's a lot of decisions to make. Do I use some of my action points to swim a few more of my surfer meeples out into the sea? Or do I play some more cards and get them, make them stay on this wave? Or try to bust people off the wave and try to move in closer to that prime position? Oh man, it is so much fun. So much fun to play this game. And it hurt my heart that it couldn't get on my top 100, but I guess just because I don't know. Other games just came onto the list and just beat it out, basically. Basically, that's what happened. The only thing I don't like about the game is the gold and bronze trophies are so close in color, it's hard to tell what's what. So what I plan to do this year is buy just some gold spray paint and spray paint all of my gold trophies way more shinier gold so I can tell the difference between them. But if I'm still interested in changing bits on the game, that should tell you how wonderful I think this game is. So Surf's Up, 114. At number 113 is the game called Coconuts. And Coconuts, you are these monkeys and you are shooting these rubber coconuts into these baskets, either in the middle of the table or on other players' baskets if they have collected them. If you get coconut in a basket, you add it to your stack. You're trying to get a little pyramid stack of 6 coconuts to win the game. There are cards that you can play in the game that give, that kind of screw the other players or maybe help you out. And at first we didn't play with those, but now we play with them all the time. There's one dumb one that says, hey, you can blow on the coconut as it's being fired. Yeah, that's not going to stop a rubber coconut that's being propelled at, various speeds. These coconuts are so strong. The mechanism, the trigger to, shoot those coconuts back, you can shoot a coconut across 3 rooms if you pull it all the way back, those things will go flying around the room. But it is a ton of fun. My nephews love it. My board game group absolutely loves it. And I didn't know that. I played it end of the year with them just to see if they liked something that childish or little or simple, and they loved it. They loved it. We played several rounds. You're laughing the whole time. The card I told you about that you can blow on the ball, we changed the rule where you can blow in someone's face, which is so annoying, but so satisfying too. If they miss it, they go, oh, stop, no, stop. You're laughing basically the entire time playing this game. Now, I won this game at BGG SpringCon, and I didn't think much of it. I was like, oh, this doesn't look like that fun of a game. But man, when I started playing it, it's a great game. And as I think about it, yes, it does have a chance to make it up the top 100 if it still gets played. Because even the missus now who's played it since my review, and she really likes it as well. So, hey, this may be a game that makes it up into the top 100 someday. But right now, it lands just outside of my list. At number 112, we have Monster Crunch. Monster Crunch is you're trying to eat the most monster cereal, either Boo Berry, Count Chocula, Frankenberry, Fruit Brute, and Yummy Mummy. All of these characters I know and love and have eaten their cereal in the past. And that's the reason I bought the game. I said, well, the game looks kind of cheesy. It's probably not that good, but I'm going to buy it just because every Halloween I get all of the monster cereals that are in print every year, and I eat through each one of the cereals on my own because my wife does not like the cereal. But I said, I got to get this game. This game is me. Imagine my surprise. I was shocked at how good this game was. This game is so much fun because whoever you're playing as, whichever monster cereal you have, you also have these two cards that give you special abilities in the game. Basically, one changes up the rules of the game for one round, and another one is your special ability. You can use each one once during the game. There's also milk cartons you can collect that will add and help you, get rid of more cards in your hand. You're trying to get rid of the most cards out of 3 separate piles you've made. You're trying to get the most cards into your bowl and out of your hand for each round. And of course, at the end of the game, whoever has the most cards wins. Oh man, it's just so much fun. The more we play it, This one did get onto the table for a few board game nights, and I just keep loving it. Like I said, the game has surprised me. Does that mean it may make my top 100 one day? Yeah, sure. Any of these games that are this close to the top 100 could get in. And this one was just such a surprise to me. Blew me away. One of the biggest surprises out of all my new games, I think. Speaking of big surprises in board games, I don't think anything surprised me more than Garbage Day. Garbage Day is basically a game where you're trying to clean your room. You're throwing cards either in your room, maybe on other players, or putting them in the trash. The trash is a plastic trash can with the lid upside down, and it's a balancing game because you're trying to stack the cards out in a flower pattern. There are these 2 holes through all the cards, so you have to make sure you can see down below the ground between those 2 holes to make sure your card's far enough out. And of course, once that trash can comes tumbling, you're out of the game, and the players keep playing. Oh man, we have had some super close games. In fact, we went through the entire base deck one time, and it was the last card they were playing, and it just, the whole trash can just came down. Another game I got for free, I won at BGG SpringCon, and I was like, ooh, this game does look like garbage. And I looked at the cards, the artwork doesn't look that nice. We've played this game a million times. My game group loves it. My nephews love it. Man, this is a really fun game. I got all the little expansions when they were like $3 a pack. Now they're $1 a pack. This game is like super cheap online. And if you want a fast, friendly, fun game that I think anyone would enjoy, go get Garbage Day. Blows my mind on how great this game is. Man, oh man. But yeah, like I said, it just didn't make my top 100 this time. Thinking on it, it's going to be close next year. It's going to be close because as I keep playing it, it's just going to get better and better. But Garbage Day, probably, this and Monster Crunch were the 2 biggest surprises, I think, in my collection this year. At number 110 was Santiego De Cuba. I played this game at BGG SpringCon, and I liked it. You're basically all moving the same car around the board, collecting different various items wherever you land on. You get 1 move for free, then you have to pay money to move even further if you want something else. And then when you get to the dock, everyone can turn in some of their goods for victory points. And at the end of X amount of rounds, whoever has the most points wins. Now there are tiles for all the spots, so you would shuffle those tiles so the board, it gives it a lot more playability, so wherever those tiles fall out, it may change the way you play the game. And of course, you can also buy special abilities on each one of these other tiles that are randomly shuffled too. So there's a lot going on in this tiny little game. It didn't make the top 100 because, well, we had to reset a rule. There's no hoarding rule in our house rule. We don't allow hoarding, even though the game says nothing about it. My little nephew, who's really smart, figured out you could hoard all the supplies and starve everyone else out, and then on the next ship you can just throw all the goods down there and make tons of points. And I was like, oh no, the game is broken. I was so upset because I was really loving the game, and then I realized it's got a broken rule. So After that, we played Finca. I think I said this in my review. We played Finca, and I saw that they had a no hoarding rule where if someone goes to grab an item that's not available, then every player must dump in all of that same item they have, so that player may grab what they need. So you avoid hoarding there. So we instigated that same rule for Santiego De Cuba, and it's a much better game. Now, the reason this didn't make the top 100 is probably because it's still kind of new to my list. I didn't get to play it as much as I've been playing some other games. So for that reason, I had to set it down just a little bit outside the top 100. Great game. This one definitely needs a reprint. It is way too expensive online. I would never suggest anyone get it, buy it used, because it's so much money for such a little tiny game. But it has a lot of good game play in it. So that's why it's number 110 on the list. My number 109 was number 78 last year. That means it drops 31 spots. Sad, but still a great game, Temple Run. Temple Run, you have these little modular boards you can switch out, and your character's running on the board. You're rolling dice as fast as you can because you've got a timer in the game. So you can re-roll the die as much as you can just to get as many steps ahead of the little monkey lizards who are chasing you in the game. And so, of course, the last player left surviving would win the game. And you think, well, Matt, that's easy. You just make sure you have enough spaces to avoid that monkey lizard each round. Actually, you won't even realize where you're going, and every time, I've never been caught by the monkey lizard, I always fall into a pit or a trap or something, because you're supposed to be counting out your spaces too while you're rolling dice, but sometimes you're just so nervous because you got a timer and you're trying to get as far away as you can, but then you end up smacking up against a wall or running off a cliff or falling into a trap. It's really great, and it plays a lot like the app. Now, the reason it finally failed, this game was ranked high a few years ago. I think 2017 on my list. It was up there. And then it took a big drop last year. No, 2016. 2017 took a big drop. And now in 2018, it's off the list. That's because I stopped playing the app. And I don't play the game that much. Now, we still play Temple Run every once in a while. It's one of the games I'll never win, but I always enjoy playing. So it's a game I'm still happy to have in my collection. But unless I get excited and start playing that app again, I think my interest of this will just fall right outside the top 100. But don't let it fool you. It is still a fantastic game and well worth your time. I think you can get it super cheap. But there it is. Number 108 is Sunken City, a new game I added to my collection, though it's not really that new. You can get this game for super cheap, and basically what you're doing is you're running around Atlantis, gathering treasure and avoiding King Neptune, who is trying to destroy all roads and all buildings that he lands on, and if he destroys a road or building that you're on, then you'll fall into the water, you'll lose all your treasure, you have to swim back to shore and start all over again gathering treasures. I've always been interested in this game, and I think I'm one of the few or only people who have a review out on YouTube on this, if I remember right. So I really enjoyed the game. It's simple. It looks great on the table. It is super easy to teach. And playing it, I got it earlier this year, earlier in 2018, and it was a lot of fun to play. And I was super sad that it didn't make my top 100. But other newer games came in and slowly bumped it off. And then what really killed it is the last time we played, we did not, if you get to the center tile where there's some good treasure in there, that's when you awaken King Neptune. There is a way to place the tiles, all the tiles on the board, without, touching the center square. I didn't know that, but we played it that time because no one wanted to get King Neptune out yet, because we wanted to get, some treasure first before we released King Neptune. But the way we were placing tiles, we totally avoided King Neptune the whole game. So then it just became a wild, mad dash to see who could get the most treasure, and by the timer is the tiles that you're placing. And so that's how the game went. The game went super fast because if you don't awaken King Neptune, there are no tiles for the next round. So it went one round and then that was it. Whoever had the most treasure at the end won. And I was like, oh no, that's a broken piece of the game. So it kind of hurt me a little bit, and so I dropped it down from the list. I'll have to look online to see if there's any rules to avoid that, and maybe that one person who played it with me will take a vow of silence so that they won't show people how it can be done again. But that is one of the main reasons. That last game I played where we didn't get to release Neptune and the game ended quickly, I was like, oh, I didn't know the game could do that. So it drops out my top 100, but still, fun game. Absolutely love playing it. Number 107 was one of the first Kickstarter games that came in for me at the beginning of 2018. We played it a lot. It was Grim Forest. Grim Forest, you are the 3 little pigs or their mom for 4 players. And you're trying to build 3 houses, either a straw, brick, or wood. You don't have to build one of each. You can build 3 of, the straw. Now, of course, the better, sturdier the house, the more points you're going to get at the end of the game. Even uncompleted houses will get you some points. But you're also having these cards. You're also gaining these cards, which are companions, which give you a special ability. Every time you build a piece, you get a new companion. And you get to decide whether you want to keep it or give it to another player, because every player can only have 1 companion, and if you give them a companion, they have to get rid of their other one. If you keep that companion, you have to get rid of yours. And different companions are different powers, and they will definitely change your strategy in the game. So I really like that. Giving characters like, oh man, this is a good character too, but I hate how they're getting this combo on this one character. I'm going to put a stop to that and give them this character. A lot of great decisions in the game. Plus, production-wise, it's one of the nicest looking games ever created. There's dragons, there's trolls, there's the big bad wolf. There's tons of nice pieces. Sadly, you don't get to use those pieces all the time. I've only got to use the dragon once in all the games we played. I don't think we used the troll in the last game. But it's like, oh man, all these wonderful pieces just for one little card that you can play down. There's a lot of great stuff. The artwork looks beautiful too in this game. And it hurts my heart that this did not make my top 100, because I thought for sure when I was playing this, this is a top 100 game easily. Well, what happened is it got lost in the shuffle. As the year went by, I added newer games to my collection. We have not played Grim Forest since January of last year, or maybe we played a little bit in February. But I played it those first couple of weeks I got it, and then there were new games to play, and so we played those new games. And so I think that's why Grim Forest got lost in the shuffle, but still, honestly, absolutely love this game. Awesome game. 106 is Dalryman. It is a dice rolling push your luck game where you're taking milk and you're turning into cheese and ice cream or ice cream bars or all these crazy stuff, and you're trying to get as much points. Now it is push your luck, so do you want to keep rolling for more points or do you want to stop where you're at? It's great. You can get little freezy tokens that can really increase the value of your milk products. It's just quick, simple, easy game by Tasty Minstrel Games, and I love it. The reason it falls outside my top 100 is the same reason Grim Forest fell outside my top 100. I got this game at the first of the year. I think I bought it last Christmas of 2017 with one of my Amazon gift cards I gotten for Christmas. It came in shortly thereafter, and I played it, all of January. Really loved the game. Maybe played it once in June or July, I think, and then never played it again. So it basically got lost in the shuffle again and moved it off my list, which I'm sure at the time it would have been on my list. But still a great game. I love push your luck games. Of course, just like every press your luck game, I am not good at it. I will always lose. But that doesn't mean it's not a fun game. It's a phenomenal game. I really love it, and that's why it's on this list. Number 105 was number 83 last year, so it dropped 22 spots and just missed getting back into my top 100. The game is called Smugglers. And Smugglers, you're taking these little jewels that represent either sweet or salty treats, and you're smuggling into this, it's like Play-Doh. It's a little bit, it's like putty maybe. So you're sticking in this putty of your color, and you're trying to get it to fit through a little hole in the door. Now that's randomly decided by a roll of a dice which door you're going to use, and you want to get a ball that's going to fit through that door but be large enough to get first place, because if all the balls go through, then whoever is the biggest, the heaviest, will get the first place spot. And you want the first place spot because then you get to guess the last place spot and maybe steal his salty or sweet treat. So there's a little bit of gameplay in this. Now, it looks like a children's game by the cover, and it kind of is, but I bring this out to my board game group, and they absolutely love the game. They would be very upset when they find out that it was not on my top 100, but it just missed out, and that's basically because a bunch of new games pushed it out. I still love this game, which is why it's number 105. Not so bad. Smugglers, great game. At number 104, this game took the biggest drop of all. It was number 24 on my list last year. And some of you are like, hey Matt, where did this game go? Yeah, it dropped 80 spots. 80 spots on my list. But you know what? Commissioned is still a great game. It's a co-op game where you are the disciples trying to spread the gospel, spread the word, open up churches everywhere across Rome. I love this co-op game because it is, well, first off, it's extremely hard to play. You have trial and tribulation cards that really always hinder you every round. Also, though, I love this die. They have this die here. If you roll low, you cannot talk to one another. And I've made a house rule that you even have to leave the table because too many people want to talk. They're going, and I said, no, you can't do that. Leave. And so we all leave and let that one person control that round. And you would think that one person knows what to do. Nuh-uh. Because if you don't strategize, you may miss something on the board. We lost a game. It was our last round. And we rolled a 1, so none of us could talk. So I marched us all out of the room. I said, okay, dude, you take over. There was only one last place where we needed a church established to win the game. The dude didn't even know that. He didn't even know it was the last round, and he didn't even build a church there because he just forgot about it. So he did all these cards, all these movements. We came back in and said, what did you do? We are like, no, because we thought he had it in the bag, and he didn't even know. He was just totally clueless. But you know what? We couldn't talk. I love that about this game. So, all this love for this game, why did it drop more than any other game on my list, completely out of my top 100, to be so high on my list the year before? A few reasons. A, Mrs. does not like to play the game with me anymore. And whenever the Mrs. stops playing the game with me, that is going to hurt it big time. Secondly, that combined with my board game group does not like co-ops. Does not like co-ops. And the third reason is I really had a bad experience. The only time we played the game last year was when I brought a group of friends over. Half of them had played it before, half of them had not. And so the whole time I was having to explain the rules over and over again to even the people who had played the game with me before. Like, they couldn't even remember it. And so it was kind of aggravating. It drug a little bit. Whenever we didn't have any communication with each other, people got frustrated. They didn't know what to do, and basically we didn't move at all. And I was thinking, oh my gosh. And so it was a bad experience. Those 3 strikes kept dropping it down the list where it just falls off my list. I hear they are coming out with an expansion this year. I'm super excited about it. I want to get it, and I want to see this game back on my top 100. But commissioned, great game. A really good co-op game. Really love it. Number 103 is a game that basically was number 101 on my original list when I did my top 100. If you know, I squeezed in 2 games I'd forgotten to add into my list, Finca and Conquest of Nearath. And I was like, oh no, I got to switch these games in there. So it bumped a few games out. So this, Corrigans is what it is. It's the game where you're leprechauns, you're moving around trying to get as much gold coins and friendly critters to move around the board, because at the end of the game, the pot of gold miniature piece, which looks really nice, is going to land on the board, and you've got to use your critters to get there to get the big bonus points at the end. And of course, whoever has the most gold coins or bonus points wins the game. Really great game, very colorful. It is my St. Patty's Day theme game. Can't wait to bring this out again in March, and I think you can play it whenever too. But the reason it missed out on being a top 100 game is because at the time when I made my list, I had not played this game. It was one of the newest additions to my collection, and I just felt like I just hadn't played it enough to get a good feel for it. I was missing a few pieces too, which I was upset about, but the company gave me the pieces I'm missing now, so I have a full set now. And I do enjoy the game, but I want to let it simmer another year. And if this year I end up really loving it, it will make my top 100. But right now, to be at 103, that's not bad. Now, my 102, my 101, as you know, were my 199 on the list. So I'm not going to spend much time talking about them because I already talked about them on the top 100. But it was number 102 is now High Tide. High Tide Queen game, love it, but because I added 2 games to my list at the last moment, it bumped this one out. And then finally, Worker Placement, which I think that's a fantastic game. Hurts my heart that it's not now in my top 100, but still, fantastic game. Hey folks, that's it. That is my entire collection of games that are outside of the top 100, at least from 2018. I didn't count any games that I newly acquired prior to making that list. Those games and where they place, you'll have to find out at the end of the year. See you later.